Hello and welcome to this Business Central training for reporting and analysis. Amanda here from marketing, and today I am joined by my colleague Lynn Smith, and she's our Senior Business Central consultant, and Lynn will be running us through the training today. So today we're going to be talking about getting insight from your financial data with account schedules and analysis views. We'll be identifying patterns and gaining new insights with sales analysis reports. We're setting up scheduled reports, emailing PDFs, and visualizing your ERP data with Power BI. And finally, doing some advanced reporting, SOLVA. So over to you, Lynn, to get started.
Great, thank you, Amanda, and a very good morning to everyone, and thank you for attending. Today we're going to be looking at what is available out of the box within Business Central, and please note that I am using the standard Cronus AU demo system, and there are no customizations on this particular company that I'm actually using. I will also be, as Amanda has mentioned, showing you a couple of extra options outside of Business Central, but are connected back into Business Central with regards to taking your reporting to the next level. So when it comes to reporting, most of your analysis reports that you will develop will generally consist of rows or lines, which will be your general ledger accounts, could be your customers, vendors, items. And then you're going to have columns. And those columns will be generally the way you want to analyze the data. And in this way, it could be things such as profit calculations, sales amounts, time-based periods, even dimensions. It just depends on how you structure your report. So before you start anything, you need to know what you're actually wanting to report on. What does it look like? What will my rows be? What will my columns be? It's just so much easier when you're designing something or trying to put something together to have that starting point, which will keep you focused. So let's move on and have a look. So first of all, we're going to look at the account schedules and the analysis views. So the account schedules can be used for you to generate your own custom report. So this is outside of your P&L and your balance sheet that comes standard with Business Central. You have got the ability to write your own, and at the same time you'll be using it. You can use it to compare your actual to your budgets. Now, some of these account schedules that come out of the box, and I'm talking here for the ones for the ICA cycle, as you can see in the top screenshot here, the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, are used as defaults in some of the reports that you will see on the actual screen. So let me just swap over and go and have a look at Business Central. So I'm actually logged in, as you can see, as the business manager role. So if I go to my settings, you can see my role is the business manager. So what I get to see could be slightly different from what you will see, just depends on your role. Again, if you're not seeing some of these indicators or insights, you can always go up to personalize, click on here, and come and have a look. Now, if something is hidden, you will see that they will be grayed out. And all you need to do is actually click on the red triangle and go show, and make sure that if these options are not showing, that you will now see them on your screen. So if I just scroll back up and have a look. So as I mentioned, these account schedules are used in the various charts on your role. So if I look at the trial balance, so under my insights, under trial balance, if I go to setup, you will see it's using the account schedule called I_min trial. If I come across to my business performance, in there, if I look at my select chart, the top 3, cash cycle, cash flow, and income and expense, and in my case, all of mine have been enabled. If I actually look at the income and expense, if I click on there, on the 3 dots at the top, and look at setup, again, you'll see that is the account schedule. So because these ones are being used as defaults, it's recommended not to change these. But if you do want to use these account schedules elsewhere, it's always a good idea to take a copy of them, amend the copy, and then again, you can come and try it in here. because sometimes if you do make changes, it may not work, in which case it means that these particular views here may not work efficiently. So how do we set up and how do we make an account schedule? So let's go into finance and we'll click on account schedules. As you can see, these are the ones that are being used. So Business Central will come with some default ones. You can also make your own. So you can see here, like for income, I've created another one and I've played with that and changed it. You can also create your own as well. So I'm going to do one called expenses. So what I want to do is create a new one. So I just click on new. I will give it a title called demo and I will go expenses and I'll just put the word demo in there. And then I need to know what kind of columns am I going to have. To start with, I'm going to just select something called 12 periods, which is I've set up. You can decide what column layout you want when you're actually designing it. So let's have a look and see what that column layout is all about. So I'm just going to go to process and edit my column layout setup. So 12 periods, I actually want to analyze my data over the last 12 months. So again, I put in a column number, I can give it a heading. So because I can vary my period, whether I'm going to do it weekly, monthly, quarterly, I've decided to use a very generic heading called current period. And then obviously current period -1, current period -2. Again, what type of data do I want to see? Is this going to be a net change? Will it be the balance at the date? Will it be the beginning balance, year to date, or even a formula? So again, in this case, I just want to see the net change for that current period. And again, what type of entries do I want to see? In this case, I have a choice of picking up the actual entries, or I could pick up budget entries. On the next column, net amount type, I can either just see the net amount, or I can choose just to show the debits or the credits. In my case, I just want to see one figure, so therefore I'm picking up net amount. For the columns where you're wanting to have a formula, obviously you're stating what that formula would be. And in this case, I'm adding columns 10 through to 1 to 9. So as you can see, I've gone through there. And I've used 1 to 9 just so that in case I insert another line between here and there, it will actually include it as well. I then have a column here to say what's my comparison date formula. In this case, I'm just going to say, well, take my current month -1 or take my current month -2. And then over on the side here, you can see, do I want to show the opposite sign? So if I'm dealing with revenue accounts, you may want to show it the opposite way around. And again, you can always hide columns. If you're using columns to do a calculation, you can either show them or hide them. And it's just a case of dropping down, or never, or only when positive, or only when negative. And again, you've got a rounding factor as well. In this case, I'm just rounding everything up to whole amounts. One of the other options that I've also developed or put together in a different column format is something called compare. And we'll just have a look at that one as well and just see how I've set that up. So same again, in this case, I've got columns C10, 20 to 50. Again, I've asked for net change and the formulas. I think I've also got the description in here. There's a current month, last month, monthly variance, budget, and variance to budget. So I've got my net change. I've also got the formulas. I've got another formula. And you'll notice this time around, I'm using budget entries as opposed to entries because I want to pick up my budget figures. So I've got my two formulas. In this case, it's C10 minus C20. And in the last column, I'm actually taking my budget away from, or my current month away from my budget. And again, when it comes to last month, I am using that comparison date formula of -1. And again, I've got the same columns at the end here as well. So again, you can have as many different layouts for columns as you so wish, and just set them up accordingly. Right, so I've now decided in my demo, I'm going to have the 12 periods. So now let's go in. So that's my column sorted. I now need to sort out what I want on my rows. So in this case, I'm going to edit the account schedule. So it comes up with blank, and I can now start to actually build my report. So I could actually sit here and put my heading in if I wanted to. In my case, what I'm going to be actually showing is just all my operating expenses. So I could actually start typing in here operating expenses and build my report from that side. I'm not going to do that today. What I would like to do is actually get the system to do it for me. And I can just click on insert the GL accounts. And that then brings up every single GL account I want. I only want to pick up my expenses. So instead of scrolling down, I'm just going to quickly search. And I can see there's my operating expense. And I will select all the rows all the way down to total operating, where are they? Operating expense, right down to 9420 is where I'll pick up, and I'll go OK. So as you can see, everything has been brought in, and it has put all the accounts in there. In my case, it's just going to show the total accounts only. I haven't gone into too much detail yet. Once I've actually done that, again, I'm saying, well, what do I want to see on each one of these accounts? Do I want to see the net change, balance at date or beginning, or do I want to look at net amount, debit and credit? Again, I can show the opposite signs. Do I want to show these lines? Do I want to have them in bold? Do I want them in italic? You're just literally building your report up as you go. What I'm going to do is actually just come out of this one and go and look at the one that I have already set up. So just same thing, edit the account schedule. And there it is. So I've got this one in a lot more detail. As you can see, it's been nicely set out for me with all my row numbers already done. So that was just by going insert GL accounts. And you can just choose what accounts you want to set up. When I've done all my rows, I can now actually start to look at the reports. I can just go process an overview. So in here, I've got the name, expenses, my column layout. I'm actually going to change my column layout and go back to last 12 periods. And again, I'm going to select the date filter that I want to see. So in this case, I'm just going to be using the month of April. So I'm just going to go 1st of April to the 30th of April. And it will now show me all my figures. So there's my April. This will obviously be March, February, and going back to January. So you can see this is a demo company, so I haven't got a full set of data in here, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So again, it was really quite quick to actually build this report. I've chosen my lines, which were all my operating expenses, and then I've also chose my columns going across. Again, if I don't want to see my 12 periods, I can choose another column layout. And in this case, I'm going to use compare. Remember, this was current month, last month, monthly variance, and budget. And again, I've got the ability to drill down and actually select the relevant budget that I want to use. I could also use a filter. And these are going to be my two global dimensions where I can actually filter out and select data from here. Don't forget, within an account schedule, you do have that ability to actually drill down into transactions. So again, I can come through here and drill down and look at all the transactions that make up that particular figure. There is something I would like to show you very quickly. For those of you who are on the latest version, if I go into building, repairs and maintenance and look at the figure that it's come up with, in this case, my department codes have been set up. So this is one of my dimensions department codes. If for some reason this one at the top here was incorrect, you now have the ability to actually come and correct your dimensions. So I've highlighted that particular line. As you can see, it's labeled it down there. And I want to change it now, not only from 100, but to, let's take it to finance. I'm going to run this. I want it to run it immediately. And straight away, it will actually go in and update that record. So if I just go back out and come back in, you can now see that the dimension code has been updated. So this is really useful if for some reason the dimension has been incorrectly used, which means that what you're seeing in your account schedule here is incorrect. You can always come back and change or go back and now correct that. So that's a quick view of how to set up an account schedule. Very simple, very easy to use. If you're wanting to use more than 2 dimensions, then you have to set up what we call an analysis view, in which case it just gives you further dimensions to report by. So let's go and have a look at that. So analysis views are a quick way of analyzing your data by using dimensions. So let's go in and look at the one I've set up already. The only thing is, by using analysis views, because it uses dimensions, for it to be truly effective, it does mean that all your data needs to be using dimensions. And therefore, you would most probably have to set up your customers with the right dimensions, possibly your vendors, your items, in order for these reports to work correctly. And again, you can do that by making some of your dimensions mandatory. But it does cause issues if somebody doesn't fill out the data correctly when setting up a new record. So let's have a look at the one here that I've set up called Sales Department. I just gave it a name. I gave it a description, and my account source is going to be my GL accounts. Because I'm looking at sales, I'm just going to be picking up my revenue accounts. So again, I've just gone from 6100 through to 695. And if I just go and look for my income accounts, they're there. And I can just pick them up and go from 6,000 all the way down to the end, 9999. In this case, I've only taken mine to 6995. So here I've got my date compression. Do I want to see this report by day, by week, by month? If I take month, please note it takes the actual current month that you're looking at. Starting data, because these are views, every time you do a transaction, you need to update the view that's sitting in the background. So I've said basically, I need to see all the information from the 1st of January this year. And again, I have used my department as my main dimension filter. Up here, you've got 2 options, enable update on posting or update. It's recommended that you possibly use enable update on posting, which means every time a transaction is posted, it will update this view. That just means every time you look at it, it's going to show you the latest information. If you don't have enable, and you'll see if I disable it here, that little radio button goes off. If I turn it on again, and see, do you want to use the feature and update it? Yes, it will update it. Otherwise, you have to manually update. So that's all you need to do to set up the view. And then to run it, I'm just going analysis by dimension. So again, everything has come out. I'm just going to use a filter. So again, I would like to see from the beginning of the year. So I'm just going to go 1st of January 2021 through to the end of December. Again, at my column name, I'd rather have the column name rather than just the date. And again, you can see I'm viewing everything in buckets. And then all I have to do is show matrix. And you can see here, I've got January through to November, through to December, and it also gives you a total column. And this is all my sales. Once again, you can drill down into your transaction and have a look as to what makes that up. As you can see, a lot of my department codes are missing. If I was to actually use this and filter out by dimension, if I was to, I may not get the same figures or get accurate figures. But the nice thing about using an analysis by dimension, instead of showing my lines by GL account, I can now use it by my dimension. And because I'm using the dimension department, it will now show me my departments as the lines. So I can see here, I've got branch 100, 200 admin consulting, and then I've got my figures going across. So to me, that's really useful. And again, you can use more than one dimension. It's a really good way to analyze your data. Instead of just by GL accounts, you can do it by your dimension as well. The next thing we want to look at is the sales analysis side. I've chosen sales analysis just to give you an idea that not only do you do analysis on the GL side, but you can do it on your actual sales figures as well. So let's go back into here, into Business Central. And again, the same principle applies. You need to know what your report is going to look like. So there's a couple of steps in here. So first of all, we need to know what kind of lines we want to look for. Sales analysis. I'll type this out. And I need to know my lines. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I want to show some items on my lines, and across in the columns, I want to have an amount and a quantity comparison. So for my lines, and I've set up one here for you called items, I'll just go into lines. And here I'm setting them up. So again, I can give it a row number. I've typed in software, and in here I'm going, right, let me go and pick up all my items. I could have actually used an item group. It depends on how your categories are, how your items are categorized. In my case, it was just easier for me to come in and actually choose stuff. So if I come down into, let's go into other, I've just picked up 2 particular items that need to go into there. In my case, I've picked up milestone 1009, this one here, and I've also picked up a gift card as well. So I've just selected those 2 particular items to appear in the category other. And then my final row would be a formula, which is just adding all the details up. Same again, you can have a new page. You can also show these lines. You can have them in bold, italic, you can underscore or show the opposite signs. So again, that's what my lines will look like. The other side of this is if I now want to look at my columns. What do I want to see as a column? So let me go back to sales analysis and look for the column template. So in this case, I wanted to do last month versus last month. So again, I just give it a name, I give it a description. I will come into columns. Again, each column has a number, just purely for the formula side of it. And in this case, I'm looking at invoice sales for the current month, invoice sales for the last month, sales for the last month as a percentage, the quantities, and again, quantity percentage. In this case, where does the source of information come from? Is it going to come from my invoices, or will it come from my orders? In this case, I'm looking to say, well, let me bring it from my invoices. Same thing again, we've got the same sort of column type that you can choose. So in my instance, I just want the net change for the month. And again, I'm taking this from the item entries, or am I taking it from the item budget figures? So in this case, I'm taking just the items. I'm not using budgets in this particular sales analysis. Again, same principle of your formulas. Do you want to show the opposite signs? I've got my comparison dates again. And again, with the analysis type code, what am I picking up? So I can see on the first 2 lines, I'm picking up the sales amount. And in the next 2 columns, I'm also picking up the quantity. Again, do you want to show them? Do you want to do rounding? And that's how you would set up your columns. Like I said at the beginning, you need to know what you want to see in order to start designing. Next stage is to actually bring your lines and your columns together. So let's go and have a look at the sales analysis reports. Don't have to be a good speller, which is a good thing. And in this case, I put one together, which is sales report. So it's my sales analysis report In this case, I've chosen my lines. So you remember I've set up my lines for items. And again, which columns do I want to use? So again, I'm combining these two defaults together. And all I need to do is edit. Just check everything that's in there, that's correct. And then I can just show my matrix. So there I've got my software. It's showing me for my current month, which I'm actually in June. So it's showing me my June figures. That will obviously be my May figures. I've got my percentages and I've also got my quantities as well. And the nice thing from here is I can actually just on the fly very quickly go and change my column. Instead of showing this month versus last month, I can now do a profit report. Same lines going down the side, but going across, I've now chosen a different set of columns, which was just sales, COGS, obviously gross profit margin, and a gross profit percentage. So that's how you can use your sales analysis to start looking at things other than general ledger figures. So we're looking directly into the sales side here. Next, we're going to look at how we can schedule reports. Most of you will obviously want to run reports on a regular basis at a regular time, and you'll have to set yourself reminders to know when to actually run these reports. Within Business Central, you can actually schedule these reports, which means they will automatically be run for you when you actually designate them to be run, and then they will appear on your role center. Again, this is assuming that you've got the report inbox as part of your role. And then all you need to do is scroll down to there and click on the report. So there are there's two parts of it. One is looking at your report inbox, and the other one is just where you can go and check what has actually been scheduled. So let's have a look at that. Right, so if I come down here, you'll notice in my report inbox, it's just loading everything up. What you can do, and I'll just go through the process of actually setting these up while it loads up. So let's just say I want to run my accounts receivable every week. I would come into my aged accounts receivable. Again, I want to age it as of today. I've got my due date 1 month. I set my filters as I would normally do. And I think for most of you, you would either preview it or you would actually print it. If you want to schedule this report, you would just go send to, and you would tick the bottom icon down here called schedule, and then click OK. So in this case, I've got my aged accounts receivable. What format? So I'm saying I just produce a PDF for me, or I could put it out to Word, Excel, or actually send it to a printer. In my case, I'm just going to leave it as a PDF. And then when do I want to run it? Now, I may want to run my aged accounts receivable report on the 1st of every month, in which case I will go D1, which means go and run it on the first day of the next month, in which case I'm going to run this as well. So obviously we'll finish processing everything at the end of the month, and I want to see my figures on the very next day. So I'm going to get the report to run on the 12th in 12 o'clock in the morning. And again, expiration date. So now if I want to do this for the next year, I could go make that to 03622, and then I would just schedule that, and I would click OK. Report has already been scheduled and will appear in my report inbox when it is completed. What I'm going to do as well, now you'll notice when I was doing this, and I'll just quickly go back into them and show you. When I was doing the aged accounts receivable and I sent it and I did my schedule, when do you want to actually run it? There's a lot of formulas in here, and if you click on the heading, you can click on Learn More, and it will take you through to the help. So if you go into, and you can actually just go directly into the Microsoft help documents. As you can see, it's Microsoft documentation. Under working with Business Central, working with calendar dates and times. If I click on using date formulas, these are all the options that you can enter. So remember I put in D1, That basically means the next 10th day of the month. So this is a really useful page to go to if you want to know what formulas you need or will need to be using. So let's go back into here. Once it's been running, there it is, just refresh my screen. That report was actually scheduled. It will appear in my box. This green one means I've already read that one. Anything in black means it's actually new. And all I have to do is just click on that, and I can then open up, and there's my report ready and waiting for me. So using report scheduling is really useful. Now, again, if you're not sure what has been scheduled and what hasn't, the second part of this is looking at the job queue. So I can see in here, these are everything, well, this is everything that's already been queued for me. And there's my aged accounts receivable. Now, if I want to come and change the schedule and say, no, I want to run it every Friday or something along those lines, because it's ready, I just need to set on hold. I can then drill into it and I can come through. You can see that this is a recurring job and it's going to be run on the first day of each month. And I'm going, no, I actually want this to be run every Friday for me. So I can actually just come in and say, run this on Fridays, come back out, and I can then set that to restart or set the status to ready, which now means that every Friday that report will automatically be run for me. Or you can schedule it for Saturday, and then when you come in on Monday, you've got your aged accounts receivable for you. So that's the 2 steps in setting up report scheduling. The next thing we were going to look at is emailing out PDFs. Again, this is more like 2 steps to it. So we've got your report layout selection. So we're selecting the layout that we want for our various documents that are going to go out. And then when we send it out, how do we want it to go out? And what's our email actually going to look like? So let's go and have a look at that. So the first step is to go into report layout selection. And in my case, this is every single report in the system. Now you will notice when you come into here, there's 2 different options in here, RDLC, Word, or custom. Sorry, 3. But basically they're either done in RDLC, which is coding heavy into coding and stuff like that, or you can actually just use the Word documents. I recommend you use Word documents, one, because they're easier, but they also run a little bit faster as well. So in this instance, I'm going to be looking at my invoices and what I'm going to send out. So I'm just going to search, make it easier for me. And I'm searching for sales invoices. I don't want to use the RDLC. Instead, I want to use this one, which is generally code 1306. So you can see I've actually got custom layouts. So I just need to go to Process, Custom Layouts. And you can see there's quite a few options in here. Some of these have already come as default. They're already built in for you. Again, if you want to take something that's built in and change it, all you would need to do is come in and make a copy, and then you can change and edit it. So you can see we've taken the sales invoice Blue Simple. I've made a copy and I've called it Demo. So all I need to do now if I want to change that is to go to Layout and Export. And what I've got down here is I've already exported it out. And this is what it's going to look like. Now I can come in and do some cosmetic changes. So let me just highlight that section, and I may actually want it to be in green. Let's make it a nice dark green. And again, you can come and change what's in the body of this. All you need to do is make sure that the developer menu is turned on. And again, it depends on your level of knowledge around XMLs and things along those lines. So all you would do is drop down, and this basically is giving you all the fields that can be included in your document. Now, if there's a field that's not included in what we call the data set, then you will need a technical person to come in and change that data set for you and add in the X information. It is technical, so it does need to go back to a technical consultant. But in my case, I can do some very basic editing, and I'm just going to put things into green, and then I'll actually save that as well. So if I come back to my Business Central, all I would need to do is come back, import my layout, choose my layout, and that was document 1. Open that up. It will bring it in, and that's a simple editing. Now, when we send out our emails, obviously we're going to have our attachment, but you may also want to have a specific layout for the body of your email, or you could actually just type something in. In this case, one of the ones that I've got, and what I like to use, is something called invoicing email body. Again, all you would do is go to the layout, export it, and change it and bring it in. Again, I'll just open up the second one. So this is what's actually going to look like in the body of my email. Again, you can customize this and change that. And then when you're finished, you can just literally bring it back in. So that's the first step, is designing what the actual invoice will look like, and then what the body of the email looks like. So you can see I'm using the invoicing email body. The next part of this then is actually making sure that the invoices go out with the right layout. So to do that, I'm going to come into report selection, and now because it's going to be my sales report, so let me just put a few more extra words in there. There we are. At the top here, because I'm dealing with an invoice, I've selected invoice, but you could use any one of these documents that would normally be printed out. So I've selected invoice at the top. Again, I've got sequence, so you could have a sequence of documents that would go out when you're sending out your invoices. In my case, I'm just selecting the invoice 1306 as my report ID. I'm using my default, which is my demo one for the attachment. But then for the email body, I'm using my invoicing email body. And it's just a case of coming in, clicking, and choosing whichever one you want. So I'm going to stick with that one because I think that's rather a nice layout. So that's the two options, or the two parts of setting up. One is designing what you want everyone to look at, and then bringing it all together here for the particular document. So let's now go and look at a posted sales invoice. So here's my list. Now, what I want to quickly do is, when you're sending out your emails to your customers, if I go into this particular person and I'll just go print send by email, you'll notice that there's no selection at the top here as to who this is being sent to. If I look at my customer called MaxiTech, what I've actually done is, if I come into here, open up the customer, I can then, go to navigate, I can come to document layouts. So for MaxiTech, for the invoice, so again, I've chosen the invoice, I've put in 1306, it's going to bring out my sales invoice blue simple demo. But again, I'm putting in here who the invoices will go to as a default. So if you come into here, you're going to go select the email from contacts. So I'm saying, right, whenever I send an invoice to MaxiTech, I would like to send it not only to the customer contact card, but also to the actual contact Gordon. And then all I need to do, it will bring it in here, and it will put in a semicolon between the two. But for the email body, I don't want to use my standard layout. For MaxiTech's, I've actually chosen a different layout. So instead of using my invoicing email body, I'm using a red email body. In this way, you can now customize what you're actually sending out to your customers. So let's go and have a look at this, what impact this will have. So if I go to MaxiTech, I go print, send by emails. You'll notice it's got my two addresses up there by default. And what will happen now is I have got my actual invoice, and I have a different layout in here. I could have actually chosen my custom layout and typed in dear customer, but to me, I think it's much nicer and easier to have one from the email of the body template. Again, if I go and look at Earthshaker Corporation, they've got something different. If I go send by email, you'll notice they have a different body. So again, it's designing the layout not only for the actual attachment, And let's have a look at that one. So there's the attachment, and you can see it's now all in green. So I have designed my layout for the attachment, and I designed my layout for the actual invoice. So that just shows you what you can do in sending out all your various documents to your customers. Right, the next two tools that I'm going to show you are just to show you that apart from what you see within Business Central, there are other options to, as I said earlier, to take your reporting to the next level. And these presentations are really just a glimpse. If you're really interested, we can always arrange a more in-depth presentation for you. So let's go and have a look and see what we're going to see. So the first thing I want to look at is visualizing your data using Power BI. Now, Power BI, what it will do is it takes your data from Business Central, and it then allows you to take that data and present it in a format, generally in a graphical format rather than in an Excel type layout, which then allows you to slice and dice your data in the format you'll need. The only thing is if you do want to start using Power BI, you will need Power BI licenses. Let's go and see what this looks like within Business Central. So you can notice down here on my particular role, I've got Power BI reports. Again, depending on your role, you may have to turn on this particular widget. With the Power BI, selecting reports, it does come with some standard ones, and I've also got some demo ones as well, which is what you're seeing on the screen. You can have these built, you can turn them on, and you just need to enable them. So these are just some of the ones that have come through the default system. In developing these, what you'll need is someone who's got the knowledge to actually go and develop in Power BI. They will then create a file, and then what will happen is you just come in and you upload your report, and then it will obviously be available to whoever is allowed to look at it. Obviously, with my screen, it's limited to what I can see, so I can actually enhance this view, and I can go into Manage Report. And it gives me a better view of everything. It also gives me a lot more options. So again, in this one, I've got this particular section here, total revenue by region, and it's given to me in a block format. And you can see in the visualization here that the tree map has been highlighted. I may not want to see it that way. I may want to see it as a pie chart. So it does give me the ability to very quickly make some changes on the fly. But again, you can most probably stop people from doing that. In this case, I just want to actually view it in view mode. So I've just gone reports view mode. So this is one dashboard, but you'll notice it's got three separate pages. One is a team scorecard, one is an industry margin analysis, and one is the executive scorecard. So again, you can have a dashboard with multiple views. And again, you can just come in and you can just click on an area and it will show you different things as you go through. And again, you may just want to do a combination. So I'm just ticking off the things that I want to see. So I may want to look at CPG and energy. Again, it's just allowing you to slice and dice and drill down and have a look at information. So that is the one option that you can use. And again, all the data is being taken straight out of Business Central. The other option that we have got is a more advanced reporting tool, and that is actually called Solver. Now, some of you may know this as BI360. They recently rebadged their name to Solver. And this is actually giving you reporting in an Excel format, which I know a lot of accountants will enjoy because at least then you can still take the data and export it and play with it as well. So let's go and have a look at a quick view of what Solver can actually do. So I'm actually logged in here to my demo company for Solver, and let's have a look. So I'm going to have a look at some standard reports that have been set up for us. And again, it gives me all my reports, but I just want to look at a few demo reports. So I'm just going to Again, you'll notice I've got lots of categories, so I can actually start to categorize all my reports. In this case, I'm just looking at a few that I've set up for the demo. So in this case, all it is just a report. You can come in and click on it and it will run for you. You do have entities. Now, for those of you who have multiple companies, it's a really useful tool for consolidating. So if I take back a step, Solver is actually what we call a corporate performance management tool, or a CPM tool, as opposed to a BI tool. So there's a subtle difference between the two of them. BI being where you can slice and dice. Corporate performance is just reporting on what's been going on. So again, I've got multiple companies here, so I can see I've got my 4 companies coming through. And basically, instead of having a 5th company trying to bring everything together so I can do my reporting, I can actually do this. So Solver actually takes all the information and puts it into a data warehouse, and then we're reporting off the data warehouse. So again, it's basically using standard Excel functionalities. You've got your Excel graphs in there. Again, we've actually got some of our dimensions coming through. And again, we've grouped stuff. Most of this, when we're designing it and pulling it together, is just Excel functionality. Let's have a look at another option. So here is one which is a KPI flashcard. Again, we can choose our entity. So I can just, when I'm running it, instead of running it for SUS, I can run it for, let's take Canada, for instance. And then I will just run it. And some of the features that you'll see here are really like all your traffic lights here. That's really an Excel function. And you can see we can even look at head counts. Let's go back and look at America. That has a bit more information in there. Again, you can choose, am I looking at my budgets? Am I looking at my actuals? And again, which period am I actually looking for? And once you've done this, you can also export this out to Excel if you need to, or export to PDF. And then another one I wanted to show you is you can have narrative reports. So this is really useful if you're trying to do a board presentation. So here I've got my executive briefing card. And based on the figures, you can build up narrative in the background. So it's actually writing, in a way, some of your reports for you. And again, you've just got your Excel graphs down the side and some more reporting down here. And on my second sheet, that's all the data that's behind the scenes. And again, I've still got full capabilities of doing drill down and looking at what makes up those actual figures. So that's just another type of report. And finally, you can have packages. So on the packages side, it just allows you to combine different workbooks together. So you've got everything in the same place. So while I've looked at some of my financial reports, I'm also looking at my sales reports on this side. So it's going to cover not only financials, but sales and inventory and purchasing as well. And you'll notice that I can archive these reports. So once I've run them and archived them, I can actually pull them back and distribute them out to people. And I can also create what we call playlists. So playlists, if I just, this is what's in my playlist, I will pick them all up. So again, if you're doing another presentation, you can just run it from here and it will quickly go through. So there's my P&L monthly, and I can just swap between the various reports and show them as part of a presentation if need be. Right. The next part within Solver, it allows you to do your budgeting. And again, the budgeting all stays back within the data warehouse. And what it allows me to do is actually prepare a sheet, and it will allow us to enter data. So in here, I've got a figure for travel. I can actually just enter an amount, or I can come in and make it really easy for myself and go, let's do that and spread it evenly, and it will automatically allocate that figure across. Now you'll notice there's some columns here, such as this one, which is basically being blocked or it's locked. And that mainly is because I have put in details as to how I've come to that figure. So what it will allow me to do is on that particular column, I can see that what I'm doing is my 312 is made up of $100 for a mine expo, $200 for a trade show or a vendor. So I'm now getting down as to how I'm building up my particular budget. And again, once you've done that, you can save your data. I'm not going to do that for now, so I'll just leave that page. So when you're doing your budgeting, you can actually create a budget flow, in which case, in this instance, I'm an approver and I review it, but I'm allocating the two particular budgets to myself and to Paul. And again, Paul can't actually change anything. He just has to enter his budget. When Paul signs in, he will get his solver budgeting and what he needs to actually do. And you'll notice up here, because I'm a reviewer, I get to see what Paul does as well. So I've got basically capital and other, and these are mine. So once I've actually entered my data and I have saved my data, all I need to do is come in and actually complete the assignment. So I can just enter the data that I need to, save it, and when I'm finished doing it, I can just complete my assignment. And what that allows you to do is, if I look at the workflow and I come back to solver budgeting, it gives me as the reviewer what's actually happening. There's 2 new ones, 2 are in progress, how many have been reviewed, how many have been approved, and how many have been completed. So that's a very quick presentation on Solver, which is your corporate performance management tool. That basically is everything we wanted to show you today in the presentation. So basically what we've shown you is, in Business Central, you can use account schedules, you can use the analysis views, you can schedule reports to be run when you want them to be run without you having to remember them. You've also got your ability to customize your documents and send them out. And again, we've shown you a couple of other options if you want to take your reporting to the next level. Thank you.